latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to At All's Outdoors with me, Mike. Sending you guys a sort of a pitching / almost tutorial video about how you go about pitching the Dometic Eco Auto Air awning. So it's kind of an awning designed for sort of SUVs or MPVs. You can drive away from, but it's made from basically the material of it is plastic bottles. So what we're going to do for this is just go through the pitching process of this, just to give you a bit more of an idea. I would definitely say in terms of the pitching process, it's easier to pitch the awning first, and then once you've kind of physically pitched it, then actually reverse the car or your vehicle up to it. So that for me would be by far and away the easiest way. Certainly from an attaching point of view, it makes a lot more sense doing it like that. What I want to firstly do is kind of just get it out. We'll just unravel the main body of the awning. So it's about 260 long by about 235 wide. You get some additional poles included with the actual awning as well, basically because you can double it up as almost like a canopy on one end. So what we'll do is we'll just unravel it really. There's additional kind of footprint I believe you can buy if you really wish to. So by spreading it out, we can position it on pitch. If you want to kind of marry up towards the actual car, if you want to, you could do that. For me, I think because the car's a bit more movable than the awning, I'll pitch this first and attach it on as required. So just start by sort of doing the main kind of four corners really. Ideally you want these sort of dead square. Admittedly the pegs I'm using for this video aren't the ones that come with it, just because it's a bit, I've got kind of my own little demo pegs I tend to use for all these pitching videos. I'll come back a little bit more. So we'll just put the peg about a 45-degree angle and pop that in, and then we want to go so almost create a perfect kind of rectangle kind of shape with it. So again, pull it nice and taut. Just get that nice and away, get our dead square if we can. So it's quite a nice and new concept. So it's brand new for 22. Offers something a little bit different, and certainly again something more based purely kind of more on the SUV kind of market. Quick to pitch, completely inflatable. And one thing a manual pump does come supplied with the actual awning, but if you kind of wanted to, you can actually buy an electric pump just to sort of sit back, relax, and kind of watch it go up from there. So now I've actually pegged it out, I'll just make sure I insert the valve. So there's 2 points. There's kind of which you can inflate and obviously unscrew to deflate it as well. And they're sort of both on this side as it happens. So we'll screw the valve part in itself. And surprised there's quite a lot of air in this model, just because the tubes not only go almost along the roof section, but also go along the bottom. So you get a sort of additional bracing along the bottom as well as along the top. So nice and strong, especially when you want to drive away. So we'll pump it up. Recommend between sort of 8 PSI really for this one. So let's flip this round. And you have to excuse me a second while we get our pump on. One thing about kind of the manual pump, as you can see me using here, is that it gives you more of an indication on the pressure, and you only get that really on downstroke because of the way the valve's designed. So it's a one-way valve system, so it only allows air kind of in and not out. So what you really need for the pressure gauge is backward pressure, and you can only do that as you're slowly going down on the actual pump as well. So often as you look down now, you will see the pump just quite literally flicking up and down. By using an electric pump, you can sort of digitally set the pressure, make sure it gets right. Runs off a 12-volt cigarette lighter, and when it gets there, it will happily cut off at the required pressure. So certainly a lot easier and easier to monitor. Also, it means you haven't got to kind of do all this pumping as well. The tubes itself, because you've got obviously air chambered along the bottom, it does necessarily mean that it might take a little bit longer to pitch, just because as air probably, even though it's quite a small unit, you probably have more air in it than a typical larger tent. But once we're kind of up to the right pressure, and Archie's not jumping around, we can get it to around about sort of 5 or so psi. We'll then necessarily pop it up so it sort of sits in position and then kind of increase the pressure from there. Because of the kind of way it's designed, it almost will kind of put itself up, but you still want to kind of monitor the pressure, and anything you can help to kind of physically get up, it's always a bit of a benefit. So we'll just pop it up like so. The trick really is, as you're pumping, is make sure kind of the end doors are open, just because it's going to allow air to get inside the actual awning, and obviously then pop itself up like it just has. So perfect. Once we've done that, we'll put the cap on the front just to make sure it seals itself off. And before we pitch it, we'll make sure the doors are then shut. Right, yeah. Make sure this one's kind of loose. So now what we can do is actually kind of guy it out properly. So we can initially kind of guy it out, get tension. Ideally what you want to do is follow the seam line. On this one you've got sort of 3 points being pegged. So 3 pegging points here down to a single point on the actual awning itself. So it means it speeds things up a little bit. It's always advisable to kind of peg as you go along and kind of go against one another. That way you've got equal tension on the actual awning itself. This back door can be doubled up as kind of a canopy, and you can buy some additional storm straps if you want as well, just to get our roof looking even taller. But because in many respects you've got a sort of bracing tubes running throughout there, you're going to really struggle to not get that looking sharp, to be fair. So trick is to get them on the furthest point extended, and then you can just go around and tweak it as you come and go. So the bottom point pegs the base out, the next one does the medium, and you don't want to sort of give it too tight. It's just designed to stop it being pushed in rather than coming directly straight back out. So now we can do that. We can do the opposite side where the camera is. Well, the camera isn't, I should say. So when you would kind of drive away, you want to make sure obviously all the doors and tunnel sections are zipped up quite nice and neatly. Alternatively, when you're actually sort of inside of it, you can have it open as you like and utilise it. And what I will do in a second is kind of show you just reversing the car up to it and what you kind of expect from that point of view. You get some a king pole included with the actual awning. So this rear door at the back here, which you can't quite see at the moment, you can really just kind of bring that up onto canopy. So 2 canopy poles like so. You can pick and choose obviously what height you want it, whether you want it to be more of a kind of a lower slope, allowing the water to drain off, or something a bit taller to give you a bit more extra height. So what we'll do initially is just kind of make these about the same height. We'll go about head height just for the sake of the video. But the fact these included, and they're quite a nice sturdy bit of kit, getting about the same height. And from there we'll zip the door back up, because we've obviously got it nice and tensioned properly. Now what we'll do firstly, if I do almost like I'm going to use the poles to kind of angle it away. Now I'm feeding the spike of that pole directly through almost the webbing strap pregging point, so I can feed through there, and from there just kind of pull out. So we'll kind of just go about there for the time being, just as a bit of a guide. Again, something like I said, we can tweak kind of afterwards. But just sort of elongates kind of your main kind of area, and I see this great kind of model for those who want to go away for shorter trips and just in the car. It's just a little something pop up. Alternatively, you know, for motocross and that sort of stuff, I think it'd be quite a nice idea. There's also an additional bedroom you can buy to go into that as well, if you wanted to. Just get it looking nice and taut. Thank you much. And also you can see you've got an access door. We've got a separate kind of little review video on the product, which you're more than welcome to check out. Now what we'll then do, we're just going to roll this tunnel section up a little bit, just so when we kind of back the vehicle into the area, we can do so and then connect it properly. So if I just roughly kind of toggle this up, what we might do is just move kind of the camera angle a little bit as well with this, just to make sure we can hopefully get a bit better view of what we're looking at. So you want to kind of make sure everything's kind of as long as possible, as slack as possible, so it makes it easier to tighten up when we get there. The clip, that's okay. So we've got different sort of wheel arch clips, as well as actually physical pegging points, so we can kind of wrap it around the tunnel section, and you've got a good amount of kind of a stretch to it. So by reversing it back, we can then lift the actual kind of back of the car or whatever your SUV is into the tunnel. So let's go and fetch the car. So what we can do is just reverse the car back in. Ideally, we want to be dead straight. You can sort of see yourself in the rear mirror and just sort of park it in. So we can do, just so you've got a little bit of room, just so you're just in there now. You can pull it a bit forward and also play it, but that should be fine. So park it up. We'll turn the engine off. And then we'll just attach it on from there, really. So we've got enough kind of gap really in there. You see there's a little bit left there, but it should be perfectly fine. Now we've got different tunnel sections coming out. Thank you. So it's designed, it's quite flexible. You've got these sort of foam pads built into it. So what we can do is sort of raise over the top. Now, for me, I think I'm going to probably just, if you haven't got sort of roof bars to attach it onto there, what we can actually do is I'm going to clip it onto the actual probably seat belt inside, just use it as a fixation point, and then I can kind of adjust it from there really as well. So we'll just clip it on like so, get that over the top of the tunnel, tension it if we feel we need to as well. So again, you've got a webbing adjustment strap quite nice and neatly on there. Just shut the door there. So it's going to pull it up, then we can do the bottom one onto the wheel arches. Again, trying to really hug it round. So we can nip that onto the wheel arch there and still kind of tension it to kind of really get that seal around it. And then we've got a secondary pegging point here that's located down, so we can get that wrapped nice and smartly and neatly around the awning itself to really kind of get that real nice tight seal. So we've done one side, we'll move on to the other side as well. And it's also that essentially when you kind of open up completely, you can open the car boot inside. You've got a bit of flex into the tunnel section as well. So really you're looking between kind of, I think it starts about sort of 150-ish and you can go up to kind of 180. So you really, it's probably not going to be ideal for kind of, you know, VW kind of style vans. It's definitely more kind of SUV kind of style models. But yeah, that's kind of how you reverse. You can kind of go and come in as you please. You've got this beautiful ripstop fabric in it as well, and plenty of height adjustment. If you really wanted to, you could actually, you've got a little bit of play here. So you can almost use that tunnel section on poles and reverse the vehicle directly into it if you kind of wanted to. But that gives you an idea about kind of the setup that you're going to look at with this and how sort of quick and easy the whole thing is to pitch. So for more information on this particular product, if you want to see more of the in-depth review video where we walk around the product, you can check our review product video on that in the link below. Take you straight through our website. We've got all the information there about pricing, accessories you can buy for it, and also the optional extras that are available as well. So that's kind of our little pitching / tutorial video about the new sort of Dometic eco auto air awnings for kind of the cars of vehicles like that, really.